Thanks for joining us for 4 o'clock for news and politics. We had Ray Rickman give his big view, as we do most Thursdays. And a number of Thursdays, we've had in the RIDOT's Ripple Effect campaign. This is to raise awareness for impaired driving. We've had a number of folks in here, from law enforcement to healthcare professionals, and we have with us a survivor. Becky Bowman White, you've been out there telling your story, letting folks know what you went personally through as impacted by a drunk driver. So I thank you for coming in today.
Thanks for having me.
So, talk with us for folks who might not know your story. Let's start with both the accident and the aftermath.
Sure. So I was involved in a drunk driving crash in October 29th, 1999, and I was involved in a crash with my mother, Marcia Bowman, and my best friend, Katie DeCubulus. We were on Route 4 heading north to the Warwick Mall at the time, and a drunk driver rear-ended our car, pushing us into oncoming traffic. From that crash, we were propelled into oncoming traffic across the median, and our car was hit. And from that, I survived, but sadly, my mother and Katie passed away. And from that crash, I began publicly speaking when I was in middle school and in high school and in college. I took a few years off, and now I'm back talking about my experience. And when Dante approached me with the Ripple Effect and the campaign in Rhode Island, I was more than happy to help in any way possible for preventing drunk driving in our state.
And here we are, we've had so many folks come in to talk with us, and as someone so personally impacted, what do people come up to you after you speak and talk to you about? Because it's just so personal and it's so heart-wrenching. What do you hear from folks after you give these speeches, when you have the ability to talk with folks after?
So I mainly speak with high school, middle school kids, and I'm surprised by the reaction I get from them, because it's typically a tough crowd to wrangle in and listen for 45 minutes, but they're always very respectful, and they realize it's a real story in their own state and it could happen to them. And sadly, there are many other kids that have been impacted by drunk driving, whether it's a cousin or a relative, and they share their stories with me, and they thank me for coming to their school, and they appreciate my honesty in that, seeing how they can overcome such a tragedy in their life, whether it is drunk driving or even just addiction, whether it's alcohol or drug addiction that they're facing in their family or personally. So usually the outpouring is very respectful and appreciative of whenever I share my story.
And you talk about talking with the youth, and you talk about overcoming. From your personal standpoint, having to overcome, do you think it's when kids are that young and they're not they see drinking, they see drugs in middle school and high school. Mm-hmm. How important it is, do you think that it is for them to hear again the impacts that impaired driving actually has on people?
It's really important, especially nowadays, mainly with media and them having access to their cell phones 24/7, seeing Twitter, seeing Instagram, and seeing all what I like to say not good role models constantly, and it's important for them to realize, people do make bad mistakes, and there's a reason why their health teachers and programs like mine and programs like the Ripple Effect exist, because we don't want people to make the same mistake twice and to learn from others' mistakes. So it's just important for them to hear the message, and I think they are, and I'm very hopeful. I've always been very hopeful in this topic and realm. People always ask me, do you think drunk driving will be eliminated someday? And my answer is always yes, because with campaigns like the Ripple Effect, but also I feel that there is a little bit of a change going on in our culture, and just like smoking was many years ago, it changed. I feel that drunk driving is getting there, and with also Uber and other ways to get around, people can make a plan before they leave their house, and if they're going to be drinking, they can set a plan before they even leave their house to take alternate routes.
And so you bring up another point I was just going to raise again, having those options and putting them in place before you're in a position where you might be impaired to make a decision. Mm-hmm. And I've talked with other professionals as well when they're in here too, is the importance of keeping an eye on friends and family members and not being afraid to say something if you're not the impaired one. I'm sure you talk about that with kids all the time too.
Yeah, it's whether you're a kid, whether you're an adult, it doesn't matter. It's always a hard conversation to be in when you see someone you know that is impaired and is going to make a bad choice to step in, but you have to, because you need to think about the after effect, and you don't want to lose them, or you don't want them to make a bad choice and getting in their car and causing a crash and hurting someone else. So it's a hard decision, but you have to do it. If you see it, say something or call the police. They'll always step in and help too. So.
And giving this talks at you as you go around and you talk with media, again, part of this campaign too, part of it must be keeping the memory of your mother and Katie alive.
Of course. You know, I miss them with every breath I take, and there isn't a day that goes by that I don't think about Katie and my mom. But, you know, I survived for whatever reason, and I always feel that the reason for that is they want me to live a happy and healthy life. So that's the way I choose to be, and I'm a better person for it, and I have a very strong faith. So my faith is that I'll be able to see them again one day.
So as part, again, of the ripple effect, it's the DOT's campaign to really show the impacts of impaired driving. And for you to come and tell us your story, to go around the state and tell the story, is incredibly strong and brave of you. I very appreciate it. And I appreciate Dante Bellini and the DOT bringing people right here to the studio, because we see the numbers, they're out there, but you have faith that this can be addressed and really, really stopped. Well, we've got those links to the ripple effect, but Becky Bowman, I really appreciate your taking the time, because the impacts of impaired driving don't just affect you, they affect everyone. Again, thank you for taking the time to come in. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with our next guest here in the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center.